Hello listeners, Stephanie here. Today we have a very special episode of Dub Talk Classics for you that we are just super excited about. But before we start, on behalf of the Dub Talk podcast, we wanted to wish all of our listeners a happy and wonderful Pride Month. Know that you are seen and loved, and we very much appreciate you. No, go on. What are you doing here still? Be gay. Do crimes. Enjoy today's episode.
Alright, Kitty, I'm gonna need you to be quiet. And what are you doing in my jacket? Get out of my jacket. You need to be quiet, Kana. Otherwise, you need to be out the room. Kana, they can hear you, though. Okay, sorry about this. Enjoy editing this. Lots of bloopers with cats. Anyway. Warning. The Dub Talk podcast contains language and content that may not be suitable for stylish younger audiences. Listener discretion is advised, especially all you stylish out there. Also, please be aware there will be spoilers for Princess Jellyfish, as well as various other... Kana, what are you doing? Get down. Let me restart that. Also, please be aware there will be spoilers for Princess Jellyfish, as well as various other anime, and there will be fashion tips for all you people. Yes, queen. Use caution in case you haven't finished the series yet, but also fashion, turn to the left, fashion, turn to the right. Finally, the opinions expressed in tonight's episode are those of the individual participants and do not reflect the Dub Talk podcast as a whole. Also, trans rights, and please respect people's pronouns. Enjoy the show.
Hello, all you fabulous human beings, and welcome to another episode of Dub Talk Classics, where we look at a series in dub that we think is a staple in the anime world. I'm your anime fashion guru, Stephanie, and tonight I am joined by Noah.
The train that I saw just the other day, let me tell you about it. It was a 464 A3 style stuff made by the Nielsen Company for the wrong lines.
We don't have time for this today.
I gotta tell you about the trains!
No, Noah, sit your ass down.
Fine, I'll just sit here brushing my incredibly big afro.
Good. We also have Zenith.
Oh my god, guys, do you hear about this new game that I've been playing? So it's about Batman, and we've been playing this multiplayer. It's awesome, but not really.
No, stop. No, we don't have time to talk about things.
Batman needs a train. What would be more badass than Batman just going down the rails?
I'll just brush my long hair and put on my dresses, fine.
Okay, you go hang out in your closet, it's fine. And I've actually been wanting to address this individual this way for a while. And we also have the artist formerly known as Roots of Justice, Patrick.
Yeah, hey everybody. I just got my COVID vaccine yesterday, and I'm freaking dying here.
I was there the other day.
I get mine next week, hell yeah. But anyway, today the four of us are...
The problem is you didn't put yourself in a tub of salt water, the correct way that you're supposed to. If you've just dunked yourself in that salt water, you'd have been fine. Lord.
Anyway, today the four of us are here to bring you the laughs, the drama, and all of the latest fashions during Pride Month. Join us as we discuss the 2010 series from Brainspace and director Takahiro Omori of Baccano, Durarara, Hellgirl, and High Bunny Renmei fame, if you can believe it.
Really? That was him?
Yup. Though he was an episode director for High Bunny Renmei, just to clarify. But he did actual directing for Baccano, Durarara, and Hellgirl.
Yeah,
I can believe it, because there are definitely points of like, oh my god, I have a Baccano feeling here, and it's not just the dub, and we'll get into that, but all I have to say right now is fashion, turn to the left, fashion, turn to the right.
Anyway, we are here to talk about Princess Jellyfish.
Yay!
If this is your first time hearing about this retro jam, here's a quick summary. Plain, timid, and obsessed with jellyfish, Tsukimi is a far cry from her idea of a princess. Her tepid life as a jobless illustrator comes complete with roommates who harbor die-hard hobbies that solidify their status as hopeless social rejects. These wallflowers run a tight, nun-like ship, but their no men allowed, no one, not know how bubble is unwittingly burst after Tsukimi brings home a rescued sea jelly and a beauty queen who's actually a guy. When threat of losing their cozy convent inspires this glamour boy to turn the neurotic entourage into a portrait of success, will Tsukimi take her chance to bloom, or will she end up a hot mess? I took that from the back of my DVD set, by the way.
I gotta check now. Like, does mine have the same one? We probably have the same set. I gotta check now.
I have the save edition, so...
I am very jelly, okay? I do not have this set. I do not own this physically, so... Not yet.
I got the big box.
Oh, I hate you. You have the LE?
Okay. Quick little tangent here. Because it's actually kind of why I'm here on this episode to begin with.
Yeah, so, yes, we usually with classics, we talk about previous experiences with the show and everything, but yes, go ahead.
Alright, so first and foremost, I watched this show during the simulcast period and loved it. Cut to a couple years later, and I'm at Anime Boston. This may actually ring very similar to another story I have involving Black Butler that Steph was around for, and I don't think Noah and Zen were. But
I have not ever been to Anime Boston.
No, Noah has never been. We need you to come to Anime Boston, dude.
One of these years, man. One of these years.
One of these years. Anyway.
Donate to the Dub Talk Patreon.
So in this particular case, it was Sunday at the convention, and the Funimation booth cut the price of the limited edition because this was right around the time they were just flat out cutting the price of the set. It went down to like $30, and I
hate you so much.
And I happened to see it, and I ignored it all weekend. And I was also, I should note, I took this trip with my high school, even though I had long since graduated, because that was a thing I could do. Bus was going to be leaving in like 2 hours. Dealer's room was going to close in about 1. I bolted the hell back in there and got it.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
Not only is that an awesome, not only is that an incredibly cool thing to do, that is an incredibly otaku thing to do, you know?
Oh, 100%.
Because we otaku love to hoard our money until the very last second.
Yes.
Okay, now I don't have 500 games, okay? I have 600 for a reason.
Oh my god.
Anyway, so a little bit into previous experiences on this show. My understanding is this. So Noah and I have watched the show previously, and we have seen the dub. However, Roots mentioned this, and I think this Patrick, excuse me.
Hey, it's fine.
I'm still trying to get used to you going by your actual name now.
The artist formerly known as Roots.
Yes.
Symbol.
Patrick and Zen, I believe, have watched the show previously, but this is their first time they've watched the English dub for this show.
Yeah, that's a bad habit of mine.
Actually, I had seen this a while back, and I hadn't remembered which I had seen. I had seen the dub.
Okay, so you have seen it. So Roots is basically the new one on the dub side of it, but you have seen the show at least.
I had seen one episode of the dub when I first bought the set, and I have a very bad habit of just leaving things on my shelf and letting them collect dust.
That is also an incredibly otaku thing to do.
I do that too. Like, I have so much anime now, and it's
Why you gotta call me out like that?
He's calling all of us out, Zen.
And everyone in the comments, everyone listening too, every one of you who is listening to this right now and is like, yeah, that just drives me too, go ahead and proclaim it proudly so that everyone else doesn't feel left out. Like, you are one of a very special club.
Backlog.
Everyone.
Because this show is very otaku centric, and it does not matter if it's just anime and manga, which this show definitely delves into. So if you're an otaku of any kind, it does not matter. Leave a comment of what kind of otaku you are. Let's go. Anyway,
my fellow cooking otaku out there.
There you go.
My fellow video game otaku.
There we go.
Come on, Lilac, you theater otaku out there. You can't hide behind the curtain.
Of course I can't. Why would I?
And of course,
Anyway.
me being the like, comment, and subscribe otaku.
God damn it.
And don't forget our Patreon. Subscribe. Go to our Patreon.
Early shout out on the Patreon. All right.
We'll have more on that later.
More on that later. But anyway, so briefly going over a little bit more previous experiences. We kind of already heard from Patrick a little bit. I watched this show when I was in college. I think I was a junior, senior in college originally, and I first watched this show. It was in the English dub. I fell in love with this show. It's so cute and fluffy, and it's a feel-good story, and at the same time I just relate to it so well. I think it can be very relatable to anybody, and that's like that was my first interaction with like understanding what the term otaku even meant to another scale. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm one of those.
One of
like,
them.
It was
one of them. One of them.
one of us. One of us. But yeah, like this has always been among one of my absolute favorite anime series for sure, especially for one performance in particular, which we will get to much later. Zen and Noah, any brief mentions on your previous experiences with this show?
Yes. I actually saw this for the first time back in 2019, so I was late to the party. I think
you're very late to the party on that one.
Very late to the party. I don't exactly know when this came out, but
the show itself was 2010. I think the North American release would probably gauge around like 2011, 2012, if I had to guess.
So yeah, I was very late to the party. I was shown this show by an ex-girlfriend of mine at the time. But, you know, despite everything that happened, I really treasured this show. This show speaks to me. It spoke to me then. It spoke to me now. It's light and fluffy, and I'll get into my thoughts on it in a little bit. But, it was just something that, you know, an ex-girlfriend, we were both into anime. She showed this to me, and it clicked with me instantly.
No, yeah. I mean, especially in your case. Considering some of the parts of the show itself. Yeah, I can see that 100%.
Certain things that we will definitely dive into. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, there's a reason we chose this. There's a reason we chose this for representation during LGBT month.
Yep.
If you can't tell from the imagery in front of you right now, well, we'll explain later. But my own experience is I don't have much of a story exactly tied to this. However, I think I first experienced this show like a lot of people, including the director of the ADR director of the show, in that my first experience was the opening. There was, I'm sure, one of many countdowns of top openings of the year for when this came out, which that was 2010. Listed this
the opening has so many references. It's so fun.
It is. It has
good. It's so good.
It is. It's like okay, so the Star Wars one, the Sex and the City one I got, but it's got some kind of obscure ones in there too.
There's no Sex in the City reference.
It's Singing in the Rain and Mary Poppins.
It's Singing in the Rain, Mary Poppins.
No, before the very beginning when they're walking towards this camera and you got the line and the title screen in the back. Actually. That is the freaking Sex in the City font. Yeah, yes, of course there's Sex in the City.
Wow.
Okay.
I wasn't entirely sure, but like I saw the James Bond one. I saw the the train homage has got to be from like Lupin, maybe.
Actually, the train one is something else entirely. No,
Indiana Jones, I think.
Nope. Actually, okay. So the train. Okay, I know this because they listed it on the episode 1 commentary. Which thank you for those people who recorded that. Okay, so the train where she's on top of the train, Bomba's on the train, is actually from a movie called Emperor of the North. I have no idea what it's about, but it's a very explicit reference to it. And then following that, you've got Chiaka, like, throwing the dice. That is a reference to an old movie called God of Gamblers. So yeah. So
there are some very fun references, because the train one and the gambling one always confused me, and then I listened to the commentary, and I'm like, oh, I've actually never heard of these movies before.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So yeah.
Anyway,
and this
anything else to note of your experience, Noah?
And so yeah, I don't have a personal connection to this, but I really enjoyed rewatching this for this podcast, and you'll find out why as we go through, because I took the time to really figure out what they adapted in the from Japanese into English here, because this is not a show that was originally made for the anime watching kind of crowd. This wasn't for the cat ears, para para dancer, Mikuopolis kind of crowd. This was actually made on a network or not a network, but a kind of a programming block in Japan.
Yep.
How do you pronounce it, Patrick?
Noitamina.
Noitanima. Thank you. It's the word animation spelled backwards.
Weirdly enough, the show about otaku wasn't exactly pandered for actual otaku.
Well, I mean, it doesn't portray the characters in a flattering light, so of course it wasn't supposed to be pandering.
But my point still stands, the irony of it.
I mean, the irony. See, it's funny because
the irony is there.
In 2010, the word otaku, especially in Japan, was like really derogatory. It was something you did not want to be called. I kind of feel like we, as the otaku-y culture, have kind of retaken that word back, but it refers to
honestly
anyone who has an obsession with anything. It can be anything from model trains to Three Kingdoms to making Excel graphs. Like anything that you are obsessed with, you can be an otaku of. Not calling anybody in this call out.
Whoops.
But I'm sure half of our listeners feel seen now. Thank you, Noah.
It could also be a person who makes shows on the internet about anime.
That is also true. So I'm really excited to kind of talk about what this show is, and does it hold up 10 years later?
The short answer, I would say yes. But anyway, I digress. I think we've rambled on long enough, this intro long enough. Why don't we get started on the actual dub, and we'll go from there. How's that sound?
Alrighty.
That sounds fabulous.
Hell yeah. Alright, so first and foremost, of course, we have to talk about our ADR director and our script writers. We have 3 writers attached to the show. So, our ADR director actually doubles as one of our writers as well. So I'm going to hold off on him for a second. But our other 2 writers attached to the show, for episodes 2, 5, and 10, we have Chuck Huber. And we have, for episodes 3 and 4, and episodes 8 and 9, we have Patrick Seitz. Chuck Huber has written for other series such as Baccano, Hitalia, and Skip Beat. As for Patrick, not Roots, not that Patrick, the other one, Patrick Seitz has written for series such as Agretzko, Space Dandy, and Gamers. Now, our individual pulling double duty as director and one of the writers is the one and only Mr. Christopher Bevins.
Woohoo!
In terms of directing and writing work, Christopher Bevins has directed series such as Aka 13 Territory Inspection Department. I don't know if the episode is going to come out before we release Jellyfish, but I will say this. He also directed Beck Mongolian Chop Squad.
Yeah, we had fun talking about that just a few days ago.
Oh yeah, at the time of recording, absolutely. And he also directed Danganronpa the animation, as well as Danganronpa 3.
It's okay, later. I don't hold Danganronpa the animation against you.
I tried to pick some things that people in this group would be familiar with. That's usually my logic on this. In terms of writing, Bevins has written for Michiko and Hachin,
yes,
Gundam Build Divers, and Aquarian Logos. But I believe, if I'm correct, Michiko and Hachin, and I believe Gundam Build Divers he also directed on.
He did.
So just as a little aside there. So, to start things off, let's start with Patrick. What are your thoughts on the directing and writing of the show?
First of all, I thought the direction was really solid. Casting was really solid.
Oh yeah.
The writing is really, it's vibrant, it's energetic, it's punchy, it's full of banter, it's great. This is kind of a thing that wouldn't be really a thing for another couple years, but it is kind of strange to see a show about women being written by, like, all dudes.
Okay.
I never thought about that.
I thought the script writing was fine, though.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's just something that it was a little more thought of later on. All things considered, considering this is a dub from around 2011, 2012-ish, it holds up really well. Not just in terms of the jokes and the references they use, but other than a few uncouth words, I guess I could say that American audiences weren't aware were uncouth when this dub came out.
Either words or individuals at the time.
Right.
So, which is hard to do considering shit happens in the span of 10 years.
Right.
People learn and they know and they grow, so. Anyway.
We are, like, we as Americans are now aware of a certain word and its connotations in the UK, which is now a major anime consumption market, considering they are... Manga UK is now a part of Funimation.
It, just to give context for people who may not know, I'm not going to outright say the word. It begins with an S and ends with a Z, if that's the word you are referring to.
Yes.
We actually, us here at the podcast learned about this late last year, actually. We'd never heard about it before, so...
So we apologize.
I actually had heard a little bit about this because one of my friends had recently changed their YouTube name because they learned of the connotations of the word.
Oh, really?
Theme Snark, right?
No, actually, well, that too, but also, Superhero Rundown, who used to be running Fool's Gold under the name Lady, was using that name. Now, also, I do find it interesting that in the Danganronpa anime, in Danganronpa the game, they also use this word, and I don't know if they just... Because I know that both projects were coming out at the same time. I don't know if there was certain liberties taken there, or if it was just a coincidence.
I think it's pure coincidence, honestly, because if you're referring to the dub of the game versus the dub of the anime Danganronpa, it was two different casts, of course, and they weren't, like, at the time, because
they weren't directed the same.
Right, because Bevins probably was not informed there was a cast for the game that happened, and that's why shit turned out the way it did. But
yeah, back in that time period, it was just kind of a common thing to refer to energetic
because the game I think came out around the same time period as Jellyfish, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. 10 years can make a damn difference.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But anything else to add, Patrick?
Yeah, one other thing that I was actually particularly impressed with the script writing, considering this is, like, you know, time period this was done, the early 2010s, it did not fall into certain pitfalls, in terms of script writing, in terms of, particularly terminology regarding queer-coded characters. This dub was actually particularly forward-thinking in the terminology they use. Again, certain words that were not okay then, but were still used, were not used here.
Yeah. So that's... like, the fact that they took it into consideration is amazing.
And particularly, I wanted to bring up the, a certain instance, because there are two particular, and that's the One Piece movie episode of Alabasta, and the subsequent Alabasta arc of One Piece, which were dubbed at two separate times. The movie, which was done first, uses the particular word I'm referring to, but I'm not going to say.
Oh, you mean,
Yes.
when they're talking about Mr. 2?
Yes.
Ah, yes.
And
Thank God it didn't happen here.
The Alabasta arc of the series did not.
Good.
I have not seen this part of the actual, like, dub yet, so I'm gonna get to that eventually.
Yeah, it sounds like it's just the recap compilation film and not the show itself, though, which is good.
Yeah, the show itself, to my memory, does a better job with Mr. Tubon Clay. Don't quote me on that, because it's been a very long time.
It's been a long time for me, too. It's fine.
We will see when I get to it and, see how it goes.
Good luck with that. But anyway, anything else?
No, I thought in terms of direction, script writing, and casting, this was probably one of the more solid projects of the early 2010s for Funimation.
Okay. Zen, what about your thoughts on the writing and directing?
First of all, I think I want to say that the casting was brilliantly handled. This is actually one of the better dubs that I've seen in the last few years. There's not a lot to really criticize. Casting-wise, really, you got people who fit the voice. I believed every single one of them. Maybe one or two times they dropped a little bit. For the most part, everyone's in character, did a great job. In terms of the directing, I think this is a dub that you have to be comedic and have comedic timing, but you also have to have dramatics and deal with dark backstories, and that's not easy, but they pulled it off brilliantly, so I applaud the directing. Now, I do have to raise a finger at the writing. 99% of the time, it is good. It is very good. And I think a large portion of that is from the start to around the 2/3 mark. I didn't really notice anything out of place, but there were a couple things that stuck out to me for one or two words. Not like a sentence, but when there was an otaku rant in a later episode, and they used the word Philistine. One time they used Twitter as an example, like she's one of those Twitter user nuts or something like that, and
Gotcha. Okay.
It's terminology that I fear dates the project, and this is a timeless piece, but I feel like a couple phrases did date it and kind of pick it out.
Okay.
But it's not enough that it was distracting. It was maybe 2 or 3 times that I was like, I took a step back, I thought about it, but it was delivered in a way that I thought it was believable. It's certainly better than some things like, I'm sorry to harp on this, Bevins, I really am, but Danganronpa the animation first line, prime real estate much? Like, that's the first line. And so that's the difference.
Zen's having flashbacks.
The delivery is fantastic here, so I can forgive a few words that I didn't think were good for the piece. But overall, I think the writing is good, especially on the otaku.
Okay. Zen, would you believe me that this is also the director behind... Here's an old one for you. The Heroic Legend of Arslan.
Oh my god, I would believe you there. I would definitely believe you. And here's the thing.
Bevins directed Arslan, so...
Bevins, I did love Arslan. It took me a bit to get past episode 1, but I did love...
You hated it when we first watched it!
Time has changed many things, but I bought that series. I really do love it. But...
It's a good show once you get past the first episode where it's bad. But that's
the thing. Bevins, I do like you, and I don't mean to harp on you. I think you're capable of doing great things. It's just you have a tendency to be in projects that have problematic elements that grate on me in certain terms. And I don't mean that against you. It's just sometimes it happens.
Okay, that's honestly a fair criticism, honestly. Noah, your thoughts on the writing and directing?
Well, being the worst dub ever made, I have a lot of problems to say about this show, and it's just absolute, just zero tier.
The knives come out.
The jellyfish stingers will come out.
Here comes the commentary.
Do I have to cancel my Jim Henson subscription or something?
No, wait, no, come back, bring it back. No, I'll be nice, I promise. Please don't take that away.
Let's be real here. Noah is being the most sarcastic smartass humanly possible right now. Let's be real.
It was sarcasm, and here I was about to pull out the ankle shankle.
You were gonna pull out your pitchfork?
Well, I mean, I'll still put that ankle shankle on. I mean, I'm not above a little bit of kink. But
an ankle shankle is a knife. It's meant to stab
part
ankles.
of the cage crew.
Again, I'm not above the kink. It's just.
All I'm saying is, I reviewed the Dark Crystal for you, and this is how you betray me.
My heart goes out to you. My heart, just like this show, my heart goes out to you because this show is really fascinating to watch. As an animation connoisseur and historian of everything cartoon made, it's really fun watching not just the kind of content that they made for the show that was intended to be broadcast for a non-otaku Japanese audience, but also how that forms the lines as well. If I want to describe Princess Jellyfish in Japanese to you guys watching, have you guys ever seen, like, Everybody Loves Raymond or Friends?
Oh, Lord.
It is,
okay.
It is because the references in American sitcoms is supposed to be very across the board. Like, anybody watching it could get them, right? So, for a similar reference, in the Japanese, there are a lot of references to things that we in America have just never heard of before. There's references to Matsugoru, there are references to bamboo hat jizos, there's references to Ginza girlfriends. Well, some of you may know what that is, but just a ton of, like, my notes are filtered with watching the show with the subtitles on to find out what were the original lines, what were the references in there. And they're not like references that inform the plot, they're just offhand comments that the characters make because it's like how we live our lives, we make offhand references to movies and anime and music and video games because that's just how we live our lives and how our brains work.
Yeah. So,
and the reason I bring that up is because you cannot translate that directly into English. So we had two options here. And I want to show of hands here what you would have preferred. First thing we could have done the Sentai Filmworks thing where they kept the original line in with the original Japanese reference with a pop-up text screen explaining to you what this originally meant. Now, how many of you would have liked that for this show?
Not
Translator's note.
Yeah.
All according to Keikaku. Translator's note.
Exactly.
Means
depends on the situation.
Well, I feel like for a comedy, it's a lot harder to take that because
for a comedy, it's a little more difficult. You're right.
Yeah,
it's just hard because when they're coming a mile a minute, I have to keep pausing, and then I'm taken out of the experience.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
That's why I'm glad they went with option number B, where they made new references that don't change the context and make more sense for American audiences. And I'm going to take you guys through this one example here, just one quick example. Okay. There's a reference where the two lead characters are talking about this bitchy girl who nobody likes in the show. In the original Japanese, one of the characters is asking the other character, is she your oni, and is trying to say older brother's girlfriend, but all she can get out is oni. And Oni, if you know your Japanese mythology, is a Japanese demon, exactly. And so the other character is like, is she an Oni? And you get like this picture of an Oni mask that pops up. That's
amazing.
That is that one bit there. Okay, so that's what was in the original dialogue. In the subtitles, what happens is Oni doesn't quite work out as a reference if you don't know what that means. So what they said is they had it sound like the one character saying, is she your oh. And then the other character says, ogre? And it's like, okay, ogre face. All right, that still kind of makes sense. That, it doesn't lose the translation. So that's what we've already made a change there. Now we get into the English dialogue. We get into the dub portion. What do they do for that? Do they keep the word oni? Do they keep the word ogre? No, they don't do that because an English speaker wouldn't say oni-san to reference a big brother. They would say, is she your big brother? Girlfriend. And so the one character in this instance is saying, is she your and then the other character says, boogeyman? It's like
And that works.
It's one way to work with it.
And that worked. You're right.
And especially since you have to worry about lip flaps too at the same time.
The entire translation has to do with like what letter, what sound are you working with, and it has to it still has to make sense with that picture of an Oni mask that's about to pop up. Obviously, the average anime watcher may know what an Oni is, but they'll still get the point if you call it a boogeyman as well.
Right.
So that's one little instance that I just spent 6 hours explaining to you. Imagine an entire 11-episode show that is just jam-packed full of that. And that is why...
I'm about to say, you're not going to spend 11 hours explaining any more, right?
No,
more of these
that's going to be part of my new miniseries.
In this essay, I will.
No!
Welcome to my TED Talk.
In my new...
Welcome to my TED Talk.
My new 10-part documentary series. But to wrap this up...
That you can produce on your own time.
And my own much free time that I have. No. So Chris, Chuck, and Patrick just peppered the show with all of those. Brought context to situations where it needed them. Kept the flow going. And aside from some of those, like you guys were saying, dated things that are dated simply because we just don't use those terms anymore. We want to be sensitive. Other than that, this is a really well-written script, and I highly recommend anyone who's seen the show already, go back and watch it to try to catch any Japanese references that you may have missed the first time, because maybe now you're more seasoned and you can recognize things like, what was it? I'll think of them as we're going through the episode. Lilac, did you like this show's dub?
No, I'm not hosting this episode for any reason at all.
No, oh, well, that's a shame. Well, gotta be the one dissenter in the group.
Oh, I'm the wrong person to host this. No.
Good night, everybody.
Well, wrap this up, everyone. It's a wrap.
So,
it's
if you'd like to follow us, please subscribe to us here on our channel. We also have a I'm sorry, go ahead.
Stop it. I'll try and be quick, because I am in agreement with everybody on bits and pieces of your thoughts. I think the directing is very, very solid. The casting is just a lot of fun, and I know Noah can attest to this, and I think Patrick saw the commentaries too.
I wasn't able to catch him in time.
Gotcha. Where Bevins actually mentioned that at the time this was one of the most difficult shows he had to cast. But he also had mentioned, like, and as we go through, especially when we get to the Amar's girls or the Amamizukan girls, like, they're very distinct and different from each other. And then you have, lo and behold, Kuranosuke, our fabulous, stylish, there we go. Stylish, I'm like, what's that term?
The stylish! No!
Yeah, who is, ironically enough, higher pitched than all of the girls, which is great. But some of the, I really love the casting. It's a lot of fun. The directing is just so impeccable. And I have to give credit where credit is due. I know a couple times it's been brought up about, I think Zen brought it up once or twice in passing, about some long-winded otaku rants. Props to the girls on that. Props to the ladies on this one, because, Lord, trying to do that basically in a single breath is
without stopping, memorizing all your lines, getting it all out, and just non-stop, and matching the lip flaps.
I do not envy you in your position, especially Tsukimi. Yeah. But yeah, directing is fun, casting is great. The writing, I do enjoy the writing. I really much enjoy it. I think, my thing is this, I think anime fans of, since we're all basically around the same age, the four of us, of our generation, will understand this script. I think people of, like, younger generations might not either understand some of the references a little bit, or, again, because we mentioned a couple problematic pieces that obviously they wouldn't know about 10 years ago and they know now, that might not sit well with younger generations of anime watchers. But I hope that's not a deterrent for people, because this is just such an underrated gem of a show, and it's so much fun. writing wise, it's definitely, I think, a lot of fun, and it can be very clever at times, but I think there might be younger generations of anime fans that there are some pieces that either they don't get, they don't understand, because some of the references are things that our generation would know, or a couple things that might not sit well with them, because 10 years ago, like, you're talking about 2011, 2012 versus 2021. It's been a decade, shit happens, and we learn from things. But yeah, this is such a fun show, and I love the writing, directing, all of it. So much fun. Anyways, so we have some characters to talk about. We good to move on to our first
fun ones.
Oh,
everyone in this cast is fun.
Everyone in this cast is fun. But this trio right here is gonna be a lot of fun to talk about. So I pre-set up the visuals in my editing software for this. I call this section Politics and Jellyfish. So we have, for this wonderful section, we have Keiichiro Koibuchi, who is the father of both Kuranosuke and Shu, and he is a well-known politician. Mm-hmm. We have if I screw up this name, oh well, Saburada, fucking hell,
Uncle Saburato!
Uncle Saburato, there you go. Negishi, who is the current Prime Minister of Japan, and is the uncle to Kuranosuke and Shu. And we have, because I didn't know where else to put her, really, but we can't not talk about Princess Jellyfish and not talk about Clara the Jellyfish.
Commercial break. Clara.
Takeda.
And now we're back.
Takeda. Clara initially is a jellyfish that is at a local pet store, and Tsukimi just has these wild fantasies of this jellyfish, and she rescues Clara with Kuranosuke's help. This is actually how they meet, because Clara was gonna die. She's freaking dying over here. But yeah, so the individuals voicing these characters as Koyobuchi Sr., we have Charles Campbell, who has portrayed other characters such as Staden in Legend of the Galactic Heroes Denoe Tese, Suwong Kondel in World End, and Hayasura in It Invaded. As Negishi, we have the late Jerry Russell, who voiced characters such as Governor Glenn Ford in Burst Angel, Chen Goming in Jormungand, and Oraldo Eklund in Spice and Wolf 2. And as Clara, to which, finding out from the commentaries, this was actually her first role, we have Laura Woodhull, who has voiced characters such as Hina Kobuta in Barakamon, Kosuri Onigashira, Jesus, in Shimonetta.
You're doing fabulous, honey.
I'm trying. And younger Yuki in Wolf Children. Sometimes names are a pain in my ass. Let's start with Noah this time. What are your thoughts on these performances?
I'll keep this rather brief because although these characters are memorable, especially Saburata, because they're not as prevalent as the other ones.
Right.
Now it's interesting that in watching the show, they talk about what the political group that they're actually a member of.
The Diet, yep.
Not that it's called. Yeah, the Diet is essentially it's kind of the equivalent to the House of Representatives in America.
Yes.
They're elected officials who help shape the laws and most prominently elect the prime minister of the country. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's so necessary that Saburata is so tight with his brother-in-law. Yep. It's how it's described in the show. Now, how do they perform? Jerry Russell sounds like he's having a blast. There is no line in his, you're so cute, and squeaming around or talking about, about Shu and his, Shu, like he's hiding Shu's problems. with girl problems.
Yep.
That is not so much fun to listen to. And luckily it matches the character design. There's a bit of a fear in watching this that, is he more over the top than the animation? And it's like, no, that's exactly what the animation calls for. So it's very sad that we no longer have Jerry Russell with us, because my heart goes out to the guy.
Yeah.
Let's just say... Now, Charles Campbell is interesting because he plays his role 100% straight, because he has to be serious the whole time, which is funny considering, you know, he kind of had an affair. He had a mistress, he banged the opera singer, and had a secret love child. So he's not quite as straight-laced as he'd like to come across. And that comes across in when Charles has to play it straight in scenes where he's not really in control of the situation. But he does a good job in those. And Clara's, Laura Woodhull's Clara, is really good. The only thing that I had as a note is that she starts out the show in a really high falsetto voice, and then she seems to get a little bit lower as the show goes along, because she keeps popping up as a voice to explain to the audience the secrets of the Sisterhood. So I don't know if you guys noticed this, but it seemed like she was really high in the first couple episodes, and then kind of brought it down to still a high voice, but something that sounded less like a Bee Gees character by the end of the show.
I didn't notice that, actually.
Yeah, it's not super noticeable. It's just a bit of an inconsistency.
Oh. It's humanly possible that over the course of recording for the show, it might have put a strain on her voice.
That's kind of what I had assumed as well.
It's humanly possible.
Or the performance just kind of naturally evolved.
Oh, that's true too.
But they're fine supporting characters. They're fine.
Okay. I'll jump in next on this. I'll be quick about it. Oh, I'm gonna start with Charles Campbell. Even though I might have given characters that some people may not know of, y'all, this is Gran Torino, FYI. For the people who heard the characters that I mentioned and are like, who the fuck's that? Gran Torino, for my My Hero fans out there. I have to talk about Charles Campbell first, because Noah, I like how you mentioned how he basically plays it straight for essentially the entire time, which this is exactly what this character calls for. Because he's a straight-laced politician. He hates the fact that Kuranosuke dresses as a woman most of the time. Hates it.
It's kind of hard to hold that over your son when you know what you did in your youth.
Oh, yeah. But I have to mention this part, too, because... So, there's a point with Shu's character and his character arc. And after this incident happened, because we're going to talk about Shu next anyway, Koibuchi Sr. is talking to Uncle Saburata about the incident. And frickin' I don't remember if he's the one who said this line or if it was Jerry Russell's character. But essentially, bottom line, Koibuchi Sr. is a horn dog, bottom line. And the fact that he had to say a couple things with that straight face, essentially, just had a little dose of, dry humor to it. And I just actually really love that, and I commend Charles Campbell on that one.
The truth is, I never even got to second base.
Yep, exactly. Jerry Russell is such a delight as Uncle Saburata. He's the fun uncle. Jerry Russell is just the fun uncle, and it's so much fun and precious, and he has a lot of energy to him. Obviously he has the moments where he obviously has to have the serious comic exterior because he's the goddamn prime minister, but the second he sees...
How did that happen? I have to look at the guy. What country elected that guy for prime minister?
Listen,
he is no Prime Minister Abe.
Shit. But no, but the second he sees Kurapu in a dress, he's just like, oh yeah, you're so cute. It's so precious. I love it. And for me, I think this is one of like the first time that I can recall Jerry Russell prominently in a role, and it's unfortunately, again, it's such a shame that we lost him almost a decade ago now, because he was such a delight, honestly. And as for Laura as Clara, Laura is a mix of small, like, fun side notes and small exposition to explain moments like, oh, this is why the Sisterhood is petrified and turns to stone, or the number one thing that you this week that you should never ask the Sisterhood is what do you do for work, for instance. Like
what do you do for work, even?
Yep. Laura is just this fun, bubbly energy, and it's just it brings a little bit of reprieve and a breath of fresh air to some comedic moments and even some heavy moments too. It doesn't, like, it'll come in not during the heavy moments, but like as soon as you suddenly get a comedic moment and Clara comes in, it helps kind of break up that helps break that up a little bit more, which is great. It's a fun little addition, and it's just so much fun, and Laura's precious and adorable, and I love her. She's very cute. She's also a sweetheart in real life, by the way. I met her. Patrick met her too. Wasn't this at PortCon?
I believe so, yeah.
I think this was PortCon a few years ago when you and I went, and we did an interview there with one of the guests. She's such a sweetheart. She signed my Princess Jellyfish copy. I'm so happy. Anyway, precious, adorable. Zen, your thoughts on these performances?
These three supporting cast members do a very good job of just bringing you into the world. I do love Koibuchi Sr.'s straight man. He's a lot like, that guy in Airplane where, everything he says completely straight, but because of the comedic bent to it, it works. It's definitely very good played against it. When he's talking about how he's not even afraid of the whole affair thing. He doesn't even care. He's just like, oh well, the kids these days aren't having kids, so it's good for him. He got to third base. He had a home run. Good for you.
Well, they're not. I remember they mentioned something about an unmarried rate. It wasn't so much a reference to like the lack of children being born.
Yeah,
like
that's obviously there was a reference about that in the show somewhere.
Well, there was a reference to they were referencing what's her tits. The girl that nobody likes in the show. Because
we're
they
talk
were
about
like
her next anyway.
Yeah, we'll talk about her next. But it was like lamenting the fact that, it was so much easier when women just stayed at home and you didn't have to deal with them. Now that they're entering the workforce, that's becoming a problem for us and our, XY chromosomes. So it was a little misogynistic.
It was,
Yep.
But I think a large portion of it is he's just a poon hound, and that's the thing. I think it worked for his character. I'm going to talk about Clara next because I have more to say about Jerry Russell. But okay. Clara as Lara Woodhull is amazing. And the thing I have to describe it is the anti-mascot from Assassination Classroom. Because
the anti-mascot.
The anti-Kunudon. Anti-Kunudon, because Kunudon sucked.
Oh, yeah.
I hated
awful.
I hated Kunudon so much, and then we get Princess Jellyfish, and I'm like, this is what Kunudon should have been. There's a purpose for Clara to be in the show, and everything that Clara says is funny. I think Lara Woodhull really brought this energy to the table to make it funny and not annoying, and even when they have to make her, like, annoyed at something, she does a great job with that, She is the anti-Kunudon. Lara Woodhull, great job. Okay.
Kunudon's just an awful character in and of itself, anyway.
The worst part of a fantastic show, yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
And then Uncle Sabarota, I love immensely. And the best way to describe him is, if you've ever seen 30 Rock, how do you do, fellow kids?
Oh, yep, there it is. Yeah, that's
basically who he is.
In a nutshell.
He wants to be hip and down with the youth, so he's always saying things that are slightly out of touch. It's like, yeah, dang, my homies, like, get down. And I'm like, see, these are the references that don't date it because it's supposed to be out of touch, and I love it.
Oh, okay, yep. I have a line that I wrote down. I think he said it. "Oh, Dad, don't be such a square."
Yeah, like he does a great
him.
job, and then when he starts wiggling with Kuranosuke, it's
so fun.
It's just like, come on, we're wiggling, let's all do it. It's just, he's the supportive uncle that I love, because, like, you know, he's just like, you know what, Kuranosuke's having fun, he's cute, I don't care, let's wiggle, come on.
Kuranosuke does not want to get anywhere near politics. So Kuranosuke does what he does because of that.
But yeah, Uncle Saburata is my favorite character, and I love him to pieces.
He's so good. We love Uncle Saburata. Anything else, Zen, or are you set?
This group is great. I have nothing more to add. I think they all do their jobs perfectly. On to the next one.
All right, Patrick.
All right. I think I'm gonna start with Saburata.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm more used to Jerry Russell as characters like Gigi and Catcher in Sins, or the neighbor and Wolf Children.
I didn't realize Gigi was in Cashier and Sins.
Oh, Jesus. Anyway.
He was the grandpa in Wolf Children, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. I think that was probably among one of his last roles before he passed.
I think it was.
I think it was.
I'm more used to him as sort of the stern grand paternal character. So seeing him do, like, this goofy, lovable, just absolute fool of a politician and the uncle of one of our lead characters is just... I love it. I love it so much. It really went to show Jerry Russell's range.
Yeah.
Good stuff. And on the flip side of that coin, Charles Campbell as Koibuchi, I know him more as characters like Gran Torino, which kind of stern as well, but also kind of has a little bit of a lighthearted side to him.
Hey, who are you again?
So seeing him as sort of the more stern parental figure in this show, again, it's a nice contrast to what I already know. So, like, they were both really, really good, and but I think the star of this little segment here is Laura Woodhull as Clara, who is sort of the inner mind persona of Tsukimi.
Yep.
Like I alluded to in the introduction, like, one of my favorite lines is in the first episode when Tsukimi is trying to save the jellyfish in the tank, and she pictures her, and Claire's just banging on the glass like, "Help me! I'm freaking dying here!"
It's so great. Freaking dying over here.
It's a line that I've referenced for years, because the first episode of the dub was the only one I watched in my only frame of reference, but I absolutely loved it. And throughout the course of the show, where she's sort of, Clara is sort of the sarcastic narrator, popping out of Tsukimi's head to sort of point out random factoids about the Sisterhood, and not particularly flattering ones at that. It's hilarious. I love it. I love these three characters. Thumbs up.
All right, we ready to move on to our next section?
Yeah, let's do it.
I only have just one question for you guys here, because this is something I forgot to mention about the adaptation portion of it.
Okay.
The uncle continuously references Kuranosuke with the word pion at the end of it. which was in the Japanese, and that's supposed to be a word that just means, like, I think you're cute and I'm being lovey-dovey with you. But did that bug you guys that they kept that honorific in the English instead of trying to translate that?
It didn't
Not
seem like an honorific to me.
It's actually not just an honorific. Pion is the Japanese word for the sound that a rabbit makes.
Well, I get that, but again, that's Japanese, and we're trying to make this as...
I didn't have an issue with it. I actually didn't notice, and I completely forgot it was technically an honorific. Because, I mean, like, the uncle also refers to Shu as Shu, and then Kuranosuke sometimes is Kurapu. So I thought it was, like, part of, like, another way of, like, him giving a nickname to Kuranosuke.
He's really the only one who does it, and I feel like he's trying to be cutesy, and I think that works.
Yeah, I think it works for for Saburada's character, I think, a little bit. As weird as it is, I didn't pick up on that, honestly.
Honestly, to me, it seemed like less of an honorific and more of, like, onomatopoeia.
Yeah, kind of. Onomatopoeia, or, like, in my case, I think, like, nickname kind of deal. Since he does give a lot of nicknames.
Either way, I'm part of the Bun Squad here, and we approve of Pion.
So that was just a plus for you.
Pretty much.
That's just gravy.
Anyway, moving on to our next trio. So these three have a bit more of a, well, two of them anyway, have a bit more of a prominent role in the show. The third one is just... God. The third one just loves his Mercedes, I guess. So we have...
It's not even his!
I know. So, starting with our wonderful... Okay, he's a Mercedes otaku. There we go.
That's right.
There it is. Starting with our Mercedes otaku, we have Yoshio Hanamori. He works for the Koibuchi family as a chauffeur. But we also find out partway through the show that he's actually known... Shu Koibuchi, who is Kuranosuke's older brother, he's known Shu since they were kids, and he's kind of grown up with him, so he's been a part of the Koibuchi family for years. We also have Shoko Inari, who is is a bitch, first of all.
Oh, here she comes. Watch out, boy, she'll chew you up.
Oh, yes.
Oh, here she comes.
That's the most
She's
appropriate. That's the most appropriate song for this. So Shoko works for a construction development company. And they're the ones who are in charge of the Amamizu restoration project that involves Amamizu Khan and it being sold and getting destroyed, and basically the major plot of the show. And Shoko is a, as Noah aptly called her, is a man-eater. Like, she basically tricks and blackmails Shu, thinking that he slept with her, and then we go from there. And speaking of Shu, we have Shu Koibuchi, who is Kuranosuke's older brother, or half-brother, I should technically say, who's also kind of getting into politics as well, because of their dad.
He's a junior member of the Diet Party.
Thank you. He's a junior member of the Diet Party. He also... Two big things here. One, he falls in love with Tsukimi after seeing Tsukimi all dolled up thanks to Kuranosuke. But two, and this plays a part, it also plays a major part with the whole Shoko blackmailing him thing. He's a virgin.
Yeah, Shu will be playing the key role of our prime cherry boy on this show.
He's a virgin, and supposedly Shoko made Shu believe that they slept with each other, when in actuality they did not. And Shoko had no fucking idea that he was a virgin until Kuranosuke said it. But anyway, the individuals voicing these characters as Hanamori, we have our ADR director and our writer, Mr. Christopher Bevins, in this role, who has voiced other characters such as Nino in Aka 13 Territory Inspection Department, Narcissus in The Heroic Legend of Arslan, bringing that back around, and Joe in Prison School. As Shoko Inari, we have Jamie Marchi, who has voiced characters such as Rinslet Walker in Black Cat, Junko Enoshima in Danganronpa the Animation, and Suyu in Noragami. And as for Shu
Wow,
Koyabuchi...
that is perfect casting.
Shu Koyabuchi is voiced by Ian Sinclair, who has voiced characters such as Zab Renfro in Blood Blockade Battlefront, Tsukasa Shishio in Dr. Stone, and Saichi Sugimoto in Golden Kamuy. Let's start with Zen. What are your thoughts on these performances?
I really love these performances. I'm going to start with Chris Bevins because I knew that like it sounded familiar and I'm like, what is this? What is this voice? And I looked it up and I'm like, oh, and it happened with a lot of these people, and I'm just like,
yeah,
you know, he just has a really great intonation, and seeing him as this Mercedes-Benz otaku who's completely serious and says, no, I'm going to protect my friend, and then says, oh, well, you know, I'll get you a new Mercedes-Benz, done. He just starts spilling the beans.
Yes. Mercedes otaku is an apt description of Hanamori's character.
I will touch this car and smear the wax if you don't tell me.
Many years ago, your brother got... Yeah.
It's just a perfect casting job. He's good at the serious and the comedic. I love it. Now, the moment you mentioned Junko Enoshima, I'm like, oh my god.
You're welcome.
Jamie Marchi is perfect for Shoko because it's not the exact same type of character, but it's a character you look at and go, this bitch.
Yes.
It's
this
like,
fucking bitch.
She's entertaining. She's fun to hate. And it's a very fine line of, you know, a very fine line of, you have this character, you want them to hate, but you also want them to enjoy the performance. And I think she does a brilliant job in those types of roles. Other than that, I really do love Ian Sinclair as Shu. It's weird hearing him as a character that's not like wild and out there, because I'm used to like, I recognized him from Baccano. I didn't recognize Zap Renfro, but it's, you know, it's that similar voice. I'm like, where's that voice from? But it's interesting seeing him as a more serious, more straight-laced individual. I think he really pulled it off, but also he does a lot of the good comedic timing when he just like runs away from a situation and he's completely like, can I have my clothes, please? May I please have my clothes? May I please have my clothes?
Shu is a very awkward character and it works.
So yeah, this group is really, really well handled. I love them all. I think they were perfectly cast. I don't really have any problems with this group. Okay. Also, you know, I think it was a good job to pull some of these voices. It's like, I'm like similar from like stuff that these people had directed before. And I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. So. Yeah.
Okay. Patrick, how about you?
I think I too will start with Hanamori. I love how completely straight-laced and to business he is until someone either promises him a Benz or threatens the Benz he is currently with.
Yep. It's great.
That was a little thing that kind of didn't show itself until like the second half of the show, or at least I didn't notice it. And it's absolutely fun. Bevins does a great job with him. Also his interactions with a detective he knows.
Sugimoto. We're not gonna get to talk to him, but we have Sugimoto, who's voiced by Chris George.
Yep.
Who also acted as the ADR engineer for the show, by the way.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the first like named credits he's had.
I think so.
Or it was the earliest one I've seen. Anyway, their interactions are great. Particularly the scenes where he is he's trying to get pictures of the house.
Yeah.
So he draws a sketch and it's terrible, except for the Mercedes-Benz parked outside.
Yes. No, I like the first one that they did, where he's like, here, draw me a sketch of the woman. It's a horrible one. Okay, now draw me a Mercedes S-Class. Mercedes S-Class. And it's impeccable.
That's the only thing that he can draw.
Yep.
I love visual gags like that.
It's great.
Ian Sinclair's shoe is also incredibly great.
Yep.
Again, he plays it kind of straight-laced, but his thing is, he is so incredibly naive, especially toward women. It is absolutely hilarious. And in the moments where he's flustered and his nose bleeds.
Yep.
I was busting my gut laughing just about every time he shows up.
It's so good.
And now Shoko, played by Jamie Markey, is kind of an interesting one. Mm-hmm. Where the first, like, half of the episodes she shows up in. Actually, it's, like, all of them but, like, the last two.
Yeah.
I am just like, what a homewrecker.
Yeah, she's a
But
bitch.
then those last two episodes happen, and especially the finale of like Shoko and Shu's arc. I'm just like, now Kith.
I kind of wish they got more, because, like, did they really have kind of a finale? We didn't get closure to
the last
that.
thing we see is we see them on a plane leaving the country, and that's it.
So
no resolution, nothing.
Here's what I'll say in terms of a little background information. I wrote this down just to make sure I knew this. So this kind of leans into the original source material, the manga. So the show itself, I think, probably only covers up to the first possibly like 5 volumes of the manga. It started running in like 2009, in 2009, so it really only did like, by 2010 there was only like 5 volumes out in Japan. So there's a lot more to that shit. And I actually started reading the manga too. I'm on the, there's a cat, I think, and I'm on the 2nd volume currently, the 2nd omnibus volume, I should say. And that covers volumes 3 and 4.
See, don't you just love it when the anime is a glorified commercial for the manga?
I really wish we had more. I'm gonna save my spiel to the end, but
but
I
just
do
a
have
little
thoughts.
Context-wise, there is a lot more to the story. 100%.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
But anyway.
But yeah, the 3 actors here, I really liked. And I'm kind of hoping, because I do want to get into the manga, that something happens between Shu and Shoko, because I thought they were really cute together.
Yeah. Like, once Shoko stops being a bitch.
Right.
And she gets a nice smack to the face.
Like she deserved. Like, when I saw that, I'm like, that is cathartic. So cathartic.
Well, she fucking deserved it after the shit she just tried pulling right before that, God. Alright, I'll hop in a little bit next. I'll start with Hanamori as well. Bevins is a delight, and I think Hanamori, I know you guys have described him a little bit as kind of like straight-laced. I think, comedically speaking, Hanamori is a bit more deadpan. Which I think with this character works very, very well, because Hanamori is a bit more deadpan, so it can kind of sometimes lean a little bit into like a dry sense of humor, but just the delivery is just so straightforward deadpan, and it just really works. Like, there are very much different kind of comedic aspects thrown into the show. And again, like you said, like, he's very loyal, and he's very loyal. I know you said straight-laced and then would just cave the instant something's involving Mercedes happened. There was a moment where Hanamori's talking to Koibuchi Sr. about Shu and wondering what the heck's happening. And Koibuchi Sr. wants Shu to, like, research and look into Shoko. And Hanamori is just like, I have I can't do that. I've been in your employ for years, but I've also known Shu since we were kids. I just can't do that to him on good
There's
conscience.
nothing you could possibly do that could make me betray my.
I'll get those new wheels for. I'll get those. I'll get you another Benz.
So here's his dress. Here's where she's hanging out. Here's his underwear color, and here's his blood type.
Pretty much, yes. And it's just so deadpan, and the humor works so well, and Bevan's delivery on all those moments is just spot on. I loved it. Jamie is Shoko. Shoko is a goddamn bitch and a homewrecker, and Jamie just always has so much fun with those kinds of characters. Obviously, a big example, and I didn't mention it when talking about other roles she's played, one of the biggest fucking homewreckers that she probably had the most fun with being frickin' Panty from Panty and Stocking.
How can you
Shoko is a Shoko is a very fun character and is such a bitch, but it just works so well, and Jamie just has that. Jamie commands your attention whenever she's on the screen, and it just works so well, and especially as an antagonistic force too. But just like Patrick said, once you get to like the last couple episodes and we have that small little like flip in her character as well, because she's an idiot. She got drunk, and she wouldn't stop calling her to make sure she was fine. And he was on the way over there, thinking that something happened, and she fakes committing suicide, but like overdosing on pills, basically. And it's
she's dead
that
to
wasn't
me.
fun.
She would be dead to me. Like
no, she deserved.
Don't do that.
She deserved getting smacked across the face by Shu for that shit.
As someone who has actually experienced something like this in real life, a scare like that, no,
that is just no. You don't fucking do that. You don't fucking do that. That's just awful. But definitely Jamie commands the screen whenever Shoko is involved, and she just grabs your attention, and it's like, this is who I am. I am here. You will pay attention to me, and Jamie does phenomenal with that. Ian Sinclair is Shu. So weirdly enough, when I first watched the show, around this time, I was starting to get a bit more familiar with Ian Sinclair as an actor. I actually watched Princess Jellyfish after Shiki, of all things. And Shiki was my real introduction to Ian Sinclair as an actor. Really, me like him standing out to me and me like, who is this? So going from Tatsumi and Shiki, if you've ever seen Shiki before, to this awkward virgin Shu is the most stark contrast you could ever ask for, and it works so well because Ian does carry, like, has the presence of a mature adult, someone who has to maintain a face and maintain a presence in politics.
Well, it's not necessarily like he's putting on an act. That's just kind of who he is.
No, that's exactly who he is. But he knows he has to carry himself a certain way, because that's just. It's mostly because that's how he's raised to begin with.
It's also very interesting that he later voiced Zap Renfro, who is a notorious womanizer and possibly does porn.
Well, forget about that. Let's talk about Space Dandy.
In this house, we stan Ian Sinclair.
He has such a wide range.
Can you hear that?
So good.
You guys hear that? See, that's the sound of Gigi from across the country just shouting, "Yes!"
Yes. But anyway, going from having a personality of just like mature and having to essentially keep appearances, for lack of better wording, but the moments where he suddenly becomes the most awkward human being in the world, especially when it comes to women, because Kuranosuke makes it a point to try and figure out why he's never seen Shu with a girl at all. And he finds out from their uncle their uncle and Hanamori, I think Hanamori's the actual person who tells him, yeah, it was Hanamori, that when he was younger, Shu... Hello, cat. There's
Hi,
another
kitty.
cat
Meow. My kitties are in the other
kitty.
room yelling through the door.
I now have 2 cats in this bed. Side note, I'm in North Carolina for family reasons when I'm recording this. Anyway,
Meow.
back on track. So the reason why Shu is not great with women is he actually caught his dad in the act, like, canoodling with Kurenosuke's mom. In the wardrobe closet backstage of the opera house. So he...
Like a couple of horny teenagers.
Yep. So he has a little bit of trauma there. But anything relating to women and sex and all that stuff, Shu is the most awkward turtle I have ever fucking seen, and Ian just portrays that so well, and he's so sweet, and he can be such a gentleman at times. It's just, I love it. It's a fun performance. I love every moment of it. Noah, your thoughts on these performances?
I don't have as much to say about Ian or Chris Bevins because the fine folks in this chat basically covered everything there. I think you guys listening got the point. I think you understand. You know what? These are good performances. I just want to gush about Jamie's performance really heavily because in the she's the kind of role where it's like, okay, how much of this was written, scripted, and how much of it was allowed to be improv? Like the part that really sticks out to me, you guys probably remember this too, is so like she goes to the nunnery, and she has an accidental encounter with Kurenosuke.
Yep.
And Shoko's assistant just kind of makes an offhand comment like, so that girl was really hot. And that just sets Shoko off, and she starts going to this long rant about how, you know, those are fake, and I'm so sorry that my boobs don't sparkle like candy.
Yep.
What's with that Hollywood look and those eyelashes that no one goes for anymore? And I gotta know how much of that was written and how much was just... Okay, Jamie, so I just want you to start wailing on fake boobs for about 5 minutes. Can you do that? And she's like, absolutely. So that's...
The funny part is she was absolutely right. But
she
was right and she didn't even know it.
She was. She just says that about anyone. I have to assume that she couldn't tell that Kurenosuke was a cross-dresser.
Oh, absolutely. She wouldn't know that.
It's just...
No,
because it's one of those, it's projection where, you know, you see someone that you don't like and you start projecting your own insecurities onto them because that's how you cope with that. So, let's see. What how many notes on Jamie's entire performance was really good. I do love that both we get to hear Jamie and Ian in drunk mode. We get to hear Jamie utter the phrase idiot. We get to we get lots of that fun little stuff there. And again, that's just the kind of thing where it's just really rewarding to listen to a dub that's well done for a comedy, because sometimes the comedy just hits better when you don't have to read subtitles. So yeah, these 3 guys are good guys. And Chris Bevins, just give the guy a Benz already. Clearly needs one.
Give him another Benz, because
we already have 3 Benz. We don't need a 4th.
Just
no. I'm not talking about the character. I'm talking about in real life. All you people listening out there, chip in the money. Get Chris Bevins a real Mercedes-Benz.
God damn it.
So that's all I got.
Or we can give Zen all of Kurenosuke's wardrobe, please.
Where would you keep it all? The guy's got like closets for his closets.
All right.
I will find a way.
We need to move on. We have, oh man, we have our largest group of the night. We have the ladies of Amamizukan, the Sisterhood
of the traveling pants.
Yes. Thank you for mentioning that reference. So minus Tsukimi, we have the other 4 lovely ladies of Amamizukan, or Amars, as it's referred to, mostly in the manga. We have Chieko, who is essentially the dorm mom. She's the house mom. She's the daughter of the actual owner of Amamizukan. And she...
MIA.
Yep. who is currently in Korea following her wonderful obsession with her Korean actor. But anyway, so Chieko, she is essentially an otaku for kimonos. Essentially is the main thing for her.
And dolls.
Mostly kimonos, but yes, dolls.
Have you seen her room? It is doll-centric. One of them is going to snap and kill you. I don't know which one is Annabelle, but it's one of them.
Well,
I must say, I do love that the Annabelle reference was put there.
That was like, we had to throw that in. We were all thinking it.
We have Mayaya, who is probably one of the most vocal of the Sisterhood, and she is an otaku over the Five Kingdoms. And not the cheap knockoff Moe Kyun kind of shit. The actual Five Kingdoms stuff.
Three kingdoms.
It's three kingdoms. The Legend of the Three Kingdoms is a famous Chinese story that if you read this long book that I bought with all my money, we will go through it, and I will tell you about my favorite warriors who reunited China.
Shut your whore mouth.
Lord Ginza would go to his palace, strike down the door. How dare you?
How dare you?
You dare bring that to Baidichin Fortress on my day, the day that my daughter is to be married?
You come into this the day of my daughter's wedding. I'm gonna put my mic down now so I can stop doing this bit. Mayaya is obsessed with Three Kingdoms, and she's probably the most vocal and just out there of the four Amamizukan residents. We have Banba, or Afro, as some stylish like to refer to her as.
Afro-geddon!
And she's... I would say that Banba is a bit more tomboyish in terms of her character design. But she is an otaku over trains. And then we have... we have Gigi.
Not that one.
Not our Gigi.
Not that one. Not that one.
Although,
have you ever seen them in the same place at the same time?
God damn it.
I haven't. You're right. Coincidence? I think not.
Anyway, as I shift positions, because my legs are starting to hurt. So, Princess Jellyfish Gigi, she is an otaku over older men. and butler cafes and stuff. And she's very quiet and very soft spoken, and sometimes you can't understand a word she says. It's very cute. But anyway,
in addition to that, isn't there another one who doesn't speak, but
we don't even see her?
We don't even see her, right. So we don't really talk about her. That's
the manga artist.
She's the BL manga artist. Yes, I forgot her fucking name.
Who hates boys and is the one who says no boys allowed or I'll kill you.
Well, that's just a general rule from Amamizukan anyway. But anyway, the individuals playing these lovely ladies as Gigi, we have Miss Leah Clark, who has voiced characters such as Yukiko Kanzaki in Assassination Classroom, Mayu in Death Parade, and Saki Morimi in Eden of the East. As Banba, we have Mary Ella Ortiz, who has voiced Ringo Seto in Angelic Lair, Shinobu Tobata, Jesus Christ, in A Certain Scientific Railgun S, and Eldora in Selector Spread. I call it Wixis.
Windcross.
I call it Wixis. As Mayaya, we have Monica Rial, who is voiced characters such as Mayrin in Black Butler, Shiro in Dead Man Wonderland, and Emma Guzman in Gara the Animation. And as Chieko, we have Cynthia Krantz, who has voiced characters such as Firo in Gunslinger Girl, Kei Yoda in Rideback, and Botan, of course, and Botan in Yu Yu Hakusho. I'll start these ones off, actually. I'm gonna be pretty brief. I'm gonna start with Leah because she's so quiet and very soft-spoken, and it's just very cute. And one of the more purposeful comedic things with Gigi's character is because she's so soft-spoken, you can't really understand her, and other characters, like, talk over her almost constantly I think that's the point. And I think Leah is so sweet and soft and gentle, and it's just so cute, and I love her as Gigi. And I wish we could see more of Gigi. She's very precious.
I argue a little bit on your assessment that she's sweet. Like, she's soft, but if you hear any of the lines she's saying, it's not like she's saying, like, I wish for butterflies and ice cream to rain from the sky. No, it's like, you know, I really enjoy the way that our next door neighbor is aging into elderlyhood very well. Or, please don't come back here without your elderly manager boss.
But to me, the voice just sounds so adorable and very sweet, and it's so cute. I love it.
But I just imagine her like she's cussing heavily in her head, and all we hear are like the little bits that get out.
Oh, sweet lord, we're going back to Dead Man Wonderland, aren't we?
Exactly.
Anyway, Mariela Ortiz as Banba. So Mariela Ortiz is a name that you don't hear come up very often, and it's mostly because you mostly know her from the ADV days.
Right.
And according to the commentaries, I think it was the episode 1 commentaries in particular, Bevins had stated she was working...
11.
No, they said it in 1 first, and then they brought it up again in 11.
Okay.
He said it in both.
Yeah.
That, because she was telling both, because Bevins was telling both Tsukimi and Kuranosuke's actors this, Mariela actually was working, I think, in the video department specifically for Funimation for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And, she came across Princess Jellyfish, and she immediately went up to Bevins and was like, can I audition for this? I want to audition for this. And Bevins' response is like, why haven't you auditioned at all?
Why haven't you been doing this before?
Why haven't you auditioned before? But, no, and I think he also stated that Mariela was, I think, the second one that he saw for Banba, and immediately was like, yep.
There we go.
Banba, yeah, I should have mentioned this before. The main thing with the 4 ladies plus Tsukimi is they each have a very distinctive voice, and it kind of pulls together in a really, really fun, nice dynamic. There's a reason why I think, as I describe Banba as tomboy, and Mariela kind of like brings it in a lower register. A much lower register, and it almost borderlines masculine a little bit, and because Banba kind of looks a little bit more masculine, not exactly the typical female, especially with how Banba dresses, I think it works very well in terms of the dynamic and in terms of Banba's personality. And Banba can really like have some fun punchlines too. Where's the beef?
That was not in the Japanese. That was very much a pun made in the English.
And then,
oh, hey, meat, where's the beef?
Yeah, exactly. And then Banba also can be like, they may not seem important to you, but to Chiyoko, they mean a lot. Like, Banba can have, like, those hard-hitting moments, too. It's very nice, and I love Mariela's portrayal of Banba. Monica Riala's Maya is having the time of her fucking life.
Oh, boy.
Because this, first of all, for a dub from 2011-2012, this is not a tone you typically hear from Monica. And it is stated as much in the commentaries as well, because the 4 ladies of Amamizu-kan are in the episode 11 commentary, and this does get brought up. This is not a tone that you normally associate Monica with, especially 10 years ago. You hear it a bit more now, because you have what we lovingly refer to as Big Girl Monica. And Maya is just having so much fun. Like, Monica has so much fun with Maya, and Maya's way of speaking is also very interesting, and the commentaries mentioned this as well. A lot of alliteration. Alliteration. That is the word I was looking for. Thank you very much.
Excellent work.
Thank you. And and that was a little bit of like a vocal tick that Bevins really kind of wanted to incorporate in Maya's character, because it just fits Maya's character, and it just works so well. And Monica has so much energy, and is just all over the place, and it's just fantastic, and she hits those comedic beats like so well. And then as for Cynthia, because Cynthia not only has to play Chiyoko, she has to play her mom as well.
Her mom.
So, first of all, 2 different distinct voices. One of which, side note, was Bevin saying, hey, for your mom do your best Wendy Powell impersonation.
Yes, because Wendy Powell was the one who plays Tsukimi's mom in this dub.
Yep, it's kind of funny. But I really love Cynthia as Chiyoko. She has the maternal figure of the house. She's the house mom, the dorm mom, essentially. And Chiyoko is just so wonderful. And she's definitely one of the more put together members of the Sisterhood, because, like, she doesn't petrify as easily compared to the others, including Tsukimi. And Cynthia just is this authority figure, but she has her moments as well, and it's just, I love Cynthia. It's very precious. I love it. I love all of the Amara's ladies. I love the Sisterhood. They're so cute.
Come back to us. Don't become part of the Sisterhood themselves. I know they got the spare room, but please don't go in there.
Listen, I already have a new apartment with my boyfriend. They would not let me in even if I wanted to.
Burn her at the stake! She's brought forth a boy into her life.
How dare I?
How dare you?
How
you
fucking
heathen.
dare I? Anyway, all 4 of these performances are a lot of fun. Let's move on to Noah. What are your thoughts on these performances?
Oh my gosh, this is a lot of fun to listen. Basically everything Lilac said. I don't even want to talk about the actual vocal performances because you basically hit on everything. I just want to list like favorite lines from each of the characters. Okay. Like obviously Leah's got not as many lines, but the few ones that she does get are they're funny because you wouldn't expect them to come out of the little girl voice that she's got there. Like she starts kind of bitching out Kuronosuke when he says that you are like a little bird, and she's like, well, I really doesn't matter what you think of me at all, and then starts like babbling on under her voice very heavily.
Yep.
Just little things like that are fun to listen
cute.
to. It is. It's also fun if you do get the home video release, because I don't think this is on Funimation's website. There's like these small 5-minute short episodes. What are they called? They're called Jellyfish Heroes. Princess Jellyfish
I didn't
Heroes.
get to watch those.
Oh yeah, they're I mean, they don't advance the plot at all, but they're nice little like bonus chapters, and you get to see Gigi's obsession with old men is taken to the extreme when she actually shells out money for a jet ink printer that can like print out glossy pictures, and she's like, I'm paying it off in like 100 installments or something like that.
That sounds like a Gigi thing.
It doesn't it?
That's cute.
Yeah, so again, she's very cute, and God bless you, Leah. This was like I think the first role of hers that I remembered her for. So even though Leah's done a ton in both acting and writing since then, this is like the first one where I audibly recognized her. I don't have as much to say on Mariella because, like you were saying, she's got that very mumbled voice that's supposed to be a little more masculine sounding.
Yep.
But the line that I really like from her is, oh God, what I wrote it down. Okay, it's at the it's in the second to last episode where they think that they're being kicked out of the apartments because it's being taken over.
Yes.
And she's just she's kind of lamenting like, this is the worst thing ever. We're gonna have to move. What's the exact line here? It's like we're gonna have to move into a. Oh, is it in this episode here? Yeah, here it is. We're gonna have to be live-in workers at a gourmet food store.
Yes,
just like in the Facts of Life.
I remember that. That was good.
Which, by the is not what was in the original. Again, no one in Japan has heard of Facts of Life. I haven't even heard of Facts of Life. Has anybody here seen the sitcom Facts of Life?
I've heard of it.
I'm it was a little before my time. Like, no.
And you call yourself a connoisseur of old school television, Noah? For shame.
Not at all.
No, he called himself a connoisseur of animation. Get it right. Facts of Life is not animation.
And yet the works of Jim Henson don't come into contact with that. So
they're on a technicality.
You called me out on that.
Oh, shit.
Surely must so. But and that's another example of adaptation, because that's not what was in the original. In the original, it was what was it? They were referencing a show called Haru-chan, which I had to look up, and it's like that's like an old 80s sitcom where the characters have to move into the hot springs after they've been kicked out.
Okay.
And it's like you can't really reference that and expect anyone.
So they tried to basically find something similar in that regard. Okay.
Yeah, which
sense.
Sounds like a stretch.
It makes sense, though.
Honestly. Yeah, but Bamba gets some of the better, like, references like that because her dry voice just fits that really well. Especially with the "Where's the beef" line.
Where's the beef?
Yeah. So Bamba, very good. Thank you very much, Mariella. Let's see, Cynthia. Cynthia doesn't get as many fun lines, although I do crack up when she's sad that she doesn't get a makeover.
Yep.
So can I ask why I'm the only one who didn't get a makeover? It's not like I want one or anything.
It's all about the framing. It's all about the framing, darling.
But yeah, so Cynthia, her voice is, like you were saying, it's very maternal, and it's very, I suppose, very business-minded. Like, you can clearly tell that she's got her money situated. She's not living off of her parents' allowance. She's actually making money. So it makes sense that she have more of a mature voice than the other characters in the show. And then there is Monica Rial. Everything she says is funny, and that's great because everything her animation does is funny. Everything ties into Three Kingdoms references in some way or another. Although, ironically enough, the thing that I love the most, like my favorite little speech by Mayaya, is the part where she explains to Kuronosuke why they have no money.
Yes! And, the whole boomer conversation.
It's not even a boomer. Okay, so this is very Japanese-centric. Now, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Lost Generation that started in 1992, but essentially, Japan's economy was going fan-tucking-fastic for years and decades, and then all of a sudden it exploded. It just collapsed in the early 90s. So, and Mayaya claims that they are the children of that generation who were basically unable to get a job because there was a price freeze and money was bad, and so that's why. And then Mom and Dad said, "Don't worry, honey, we'll be happy to pay for your rent." What was I supposed to do? Just say nothing and let that be?
It's so good.
It hits very close to home, especially now.
Oh,
it's ironic, Lord. You're right. Because this show came out not long after the 2008 recession started, and hey, look, we just had another once-in-a-lifetime recession, so you'd think that references to specific Japanese economic collapse would be timely. Nope, it is very easy to grasp. So yeah, so Sisterhood, they all good. I hope they get their happy home someday.
I hope so too. Alright, Patrick.
Alright, I think I'll start where everybody else has been, starting with Gigi. I think Steph nailed a lot of my critical portions of the four characters pretty well, so I'm just gonna, like Noah, run through a few of the scenes I particularly liked.
Okay.
With Lee Clark's Gigi, I liked when she was actually at the Koibuchi mansion. And ogling the portraits of the old men. I thought that was absolutely fun.
Yep.
Mariella as Bonba. I mean, everybody else has, but I gotta give props to Hey Meat, where's the beef?
Yes. Hey Meat, where's the beef?
She
proceeds to continue to call Kuronosuke Meat for the rest of the show.
Yep.
Well, it's not her fault. Kuronosuke doesn't give them a name until, like, episode 10.
Also
For
true.
the last time, my name's not Meat. Wait a second. I never gave you my name, did I?
Nope.
That's right.
Whoops. Kuriko? Oh, okay. How did they buy that?
The fakest name ever.
The
Nobody
name
will buy that.
They won't buy that. Oh, that's a pretty name. What?
But yeah, Bonba just gets a bunch of the one-liners, and it's absolutely fantastic.
Yep.
Chieko, again, I'm gonna have to harp with Noah and do the scene where it's explained to her what framing is.
Yes.
Poor thing, just give her a makeover. Give her some eyeshadow at least.
No,
accentuate the glasses.
No, she looks fine just the way she is.
Because it happens the second time, and it's when the Kuronosuke and Tsukimi go to the flea market. And the rest of the girls are asked to bring stuff to the flea market, and then Kuronosuke gives stuff to make them look pretty, except for Chieko. And she's just like, what, again?
Well,
Chieko, you're fine. What, again?
She wears a kimono all the time. She looks professional as is.
Yeah,
she looks fine the way she is.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest, one of my favorite things about Monica Rial's Mayaya is sadly a thing that you cannot get unless you have a home video copy.
Sad face. Okay.
And that is the little Clara specials that they include.
The Jellyfish Hero episodes.
The first one is for Mayaya and Banba, where Mayaya pulls out her Romance of the Three Kingdoms novels, and Chieko makes a snack like a rice ball with a glaze on it, and she drops it on the book.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's not a rice ball. That was a dango.
Oh, a dango. Thank you.
That was a jelly donut. Come on.
God damn it!
Why would you glaze a rice ball?
I don't know. Anyway.
I can you do that? Hold on, I'm gonna go to the kitchen and see if you can do that.
While Noah's experimenting in the kitchen.
Ready? Fire up the rice maker.
God damn it. Chieko drops the dango. It gets on Maya's book. She freaks out. She proceeds to drop another one. But Mayaya ends up in a dramatic Romance of the Three Kingdoms-esque scene. Catches a dango in her hair.
Oh my god.
And doesn't notice that the glaze is all over the back of her head until the end of the episode. It's absolutely hilarious. If you
I wish I had the time to catch those shorts.
If you happen to have the physical copy and have some time to watch the shorts,
save edition, so I have to go back to that now.
It's like 20 minutes to watch all 4 of them. They're fantastic.
Yeah, I'm really glad they dubbed those. Yeah, because they didn't have to, but they went the extra mile.
That's cute. I have to go back to them.
Yeah, so overall, I really like these 4. Their voices really fit the characters. They have a great energy and sense of presence to the show. Just overall fantastic. Thumbs up.
All right, Zen.
I think the first thing I want to say is I love how distinct the voices are in a large cast of people like this that are all otaku. They need to stand out, and every single one you can tell who they are from the moment they speak, even though they constantly speak over each other. It works so well. The one that I care the least for, she's good, but I didn't really get with Gigi. Like, she's a good voice. It's not the fault of the actor. I'm not a fan of the character.
Okay, that's fair. Gigi's not exactly a prominent figure in the show, so.
Zen, are you saying that you are not also a huge fan of world-famous actor and Japanese icon Takahiro Omori?
I have no idea who these people are, but also I'm not into old men. I'm sorry.
You're not into... It's just a shame. For reference, the person who Gigi keeps drawing is an actual actor, and he actually passed away not long after this anime came out.
Oh, okay.
Aww.
Yeah, so
I didn't know that.
It was very much a tribute to him, because apparently he was in declining health when the show was in production.
Oh, that's cute. I like that.
So yeah, like, I don't have a lot to say about Gigi. I think it's a good performance. I like the idea of the gag. I'm just not a fan of it, per se, but she's not a very big part of the show, so I'm not really complaining.
Yeah.
I love Banba. Banba is probably one of my favorite of the secondary cast because I think they're actually really stylish, and they show, like, when she shows up to a stylist who's dressed in the same clothes, the same type of overalls and like afro, and like it shows that a lot of these characters are just, the fact that they're held back is a lot in their head. And Banba doesn't really care. Like, she just is who she is. She has a deep voice, she's a bit tomboyish, but she really works as a character, and I love how she just does what she wants to do. She's never really, while she is fazed by the stylish people, she's one of the least phased, I want to say.
Yeah, I can see that.
As for Chieko, I have to give major props to Cynthia Kranz. Loved her as Botan, bringing some of that motherly energy here, but I have to give props because they didn't make the character who's chubby have a deeper voice or sound weird as a result, which is common in this
stereotypical fat girl voice, essentially.
And they didn't do that. It's more she's a homely person. She likes dressing in kimonos, and that's perfectly fine. She's a normal motherly figure, and they did a great job with that voice. As for Maya, I have one thing to say. I love and adore this voice, and I've been one in the past to say Monica Rial, her natural voice, because the young Monica voice is her natural voice.
Yes.
It doesn't sound natural to me, and I'm sorry. In a lot of these roles, I know it's your natural voice. It just, something about it doesn't work for me. But when you get her to do stuff like this is amazing. Every single line is gold.
Zen, you need to watch Michiko and Hachin.
I definitely do, but then again, she was also in Tokyo Ghoul, and I loved her in Tokyo Ghoul.
Well, if you really want a true big girl Monica voice, you have to watch Michiko and Hachin. I'm just saying.
And it's like
it's amazing.
It's like
I wouldn't even say you have to watch the whole show, just because like that's a very episodic show. So if you just like want one episode to get a feel for it, that will give you the Monica big girl fix you need.
No, yeah, it's really good.
Mm-hmm. And it's not like I want to harp on Monica Rial, because I met her in real life. She's a sweetheart.
She's a
and
sweetest.
I love her to pieces. And it's like, but I have to call it out, in a lot of the dubs that I see, like Assassination Classroom, I just don't think she fits the role. But then I see her in stuff like this, and it's perfect,
Yep. I getcha. Anything else, or are we good to move on? Because we're down to our last two.
I'm good.
Alright. The moment we've all been waiting for.
Yay!
So, let's talk about our two lead characters. We have Tsukimi Kirashita, and we have Kuranosuke Koibuchi. Tsukimi is this sweet girl. She's probably 18 to 21, around that age, who moved to Tokyo to become an illustrator and ends up living at Amamizukon, and is part of the Sisterhood. And she is a jellyfish otaku, because of her mother being the sweet, adorable mother that she is. And Tsukimi, it can be very, very awkward. Very awkward, and does not know what to do around stylish, or boys for that matter. Enter Kuranosuke. So Kuranosuke is introduced, of course, in the first episode, cross-dressing as a woman, and he helps Tsukimi rescue jellyfish Clara from the pet store, or else Clara was gonna freaking die over here.
I'm freaking dying over here, man.
Mm-hmm. And then after that, Kuranosuke just kind of sticks around Amamizukon and Tsukimi, because he's just so curious and so interested in them. And he is a fashionista. It's so great. I am using he pronouns. I will say this. I'm using he, him pronouns because that is how he is addressed in the show, as well as the manga. Yeah. I'm going to make that clear right now before people come at me in the comments. I'm just going to refer to Kuranosuke as he, him, because that is how he's referred to in the show.
He refers to himself as boy throughout the dub.
Yes, so I'm going to go with...
Constantly.
Yes, so I'm going to refer to Kuranosuke as he, him, though nowadays, if the show is redone, I would not be surprised if Kuranosuke leans towards the non-binary area, and I think that would make a lot of sense. But these two are the stars of our show. So, in terms of who plays our wonderful characters, starting with Tsukimi, we have Maxie Whitehead as Tsukimi Kirashita. Maxie you would know as characters such as Alphonse Elric in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, not 2003, that was Aaron Dismuke, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, Krona in Soul Eater, and Tokyo Ghoul. Speaking of, Juzo Suzuya in Tokyo Ghoul. And as for the ever fabulous Kuranosuke, we have Josh Graley. Josh Graley has voiced other characters such as Kartophilus in The Ancient Magus Bride, Kotetsu in Kami-sama Kiss, and Yuri Katsuki in Yuri on Ice. Let's start with... You know what? Let's start with Patrick. What are your thoughts on these performances?
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and start with Tsukimi.
Okay.
I thought Maxie did a great job, sort of giving Tsukimi this great, sort of gentle, almost childlike voice. This character really has an arc to her, and I think one thing that she was able to nail really well was scenes in which Tsukimi's trauma bubbled up to the surface.
Yes.
Because one thing that hasn't been mentioned yet is she is very deeply traumatized by the death of her mother.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Her mother passed away when she was a little girl.
And she actually, like one of those instances where she actually collapsed on the beach right in front of her.
Yes.
It affected her pretty deeply, and things like seeing jellyfish in a tank or a flowing dress suddenly reminds her of her mother, and she just kind of blue screens on you.
Yep.
So I thought Maxie did a really, really great job with that. I think my favorite scene of Tsukimi's is toward the end of the show, with her sort of getting over her phobia of being around people and the stylish in order to do the fashion show.
Yep.
The final walk.
Yes.
I thought
So
that was
good.
really great. The little monologues to her mom with every episode were also absolutely delightful. But yeah, Kuranosuke and Josh Greeley. Again, an absolute delight. Josh was able to sort of give Kuranosuke this really high register, and he's got a lot of pep and energy and spunk to him. But the scene that really stood out for me, and I can't remember which episode it was, it's him having sort of an internal monologue toward his mother.
I think that was like within episode 3 and 4. If I think I know what you're talking about.
Oh no, it's later.
Okay.
It's in the second half, probably. I want to say like episode 8 or 9.
Okay.
But Kuranosuke is sort of having this internal monologue, like, what would it have been like if I were born a girl, you know?
Oh, that. Yes. Okay.
Like, I thought that was really kind of beautifully well done. Like, Josh Greeley does really great with both, like, high energy comedy and then being able to bring it sort of to a lower level to sort of be a little more solemn, I guess. Kuranosuke is a very complicated character, and they managed to sort of get the emotional beats of Kuranosuke down really, really well. So, props to Maxie, props to Josh, solid thumbs up.
All right. Zen.
Oh, I have a lot to say. Okay, I'm gonna start with Tsukimi, because I probably have the least to say about her. Not that I don't love her, but the second one is a little bit more involved. Okay, so this is a different role that I'm seeing from Maxie Whitehead. I'm used to her like Krona and the character from Tokyo Ghoul, where she's usually freaking out with her trauma. Very, like, she still has that same held back, reserved, panicky feeling in both roles. But she freaks out very differently in those shows, where it's more of a panic attack trauma response Whereas here, she's much more, like, down to earth, a normal girl, and it's more just grief and depression. And I related so much to this character, to this role. Like, you know, some days I just want to be a jellyfish, just, you know, swim in the ocean, not have to worry about these problems, not have to worry about life. Why am I so depressed all the time? Like, this hit home in a very big way, and Maxie Whitehead brought it home. It's a hard role because you have to be sincere. You have to really showcase the freak out. You have to panic and comedy and all this stuff, but you also have to have these quiet moments. And then there's moments where she goes into attack mode and she's all into the dress. And there's a moment where she's like singing a song about jellyfish while snipping a dress. And it's such a layered character. Jellyfish, jellyfish, while she's destroying a dress.
Yes. She's precious. Must protect Kimi.
She's a really cute, precious character, but she's also very much dealing with grief and depression because she sees herself as worthless, where, you know, every single situation she misinterprets because her brain makes it out to be that she's not worth anyone's attention, but she's so pretty, and over the course of the show she grows and changes, and while I want to see more of this, Maxie really brings it out. Okay, Josh Greeley is
now
one of
the meaty portion for Zen.
I got those rice balls here. Everybody have one. We're gonna be here a while.
Please let's not be here a while, but I understand.
Okay, I'm just gonna say this is probably one of the best roles they have ever done, because dear fucking God, I love this so much. This is a difficult role to pull, because the character is a man who is very much into fashion, very pretty, has been a model, but is into dresses and stuff because of their mother, has to deal with all this grief, but feels right dressing as a woman. And he did say he does it to avoid politics and annoy his father, but there's an underlying thing when he says, I wish that I was born a woman to make things easier. And it's like, he's not outright trans, and canonically not trans.
That's what, like, moments like that are the reason why I think if it was redone today, Kurenosuke could potentially lean more into the non-binary category.
And I do think it's very fitting that they are played by Josh Greeley, who has also recently not come out as non-binary, and they it's very fitting. I just think this is a character that means so much to me, because for this time period to get something like this, with this level of representation, a character questioning their gender, openly cross-dressing, like just trying new things and being a pretty boy, you know, it's not necessarily something new because we get Bishonen all the time, but this is a character who says, like, hey, maybe it would be better if I was born a woman. It's very close to home for me. And to do this character justice, you need a good voice actor. Josh Greeley kicked this out of the park, and it had a home run and a grand slam, and it passed that part, because this is a fantastic job. It's hard because they have to constantly switch between the boy voice and the girl voice and slip in and out. When they're serious, they have to slip out, and it's 100% so damn wonderful. I don't want to go on too much longer, but Josh, if you're watching this, thank you. This role meant a lot to me.
Yay. Noah, I know that's a hard one to follow up on.
It is. I kind of wish you'd ask Zen to go last, now that I think about it. But that's okay. I'll be humble about the follow-up, because And I'm really glad you mentioned the little song that she sings when she's cutting up the dress. She's like, purple jelly, so jelly, we're gonna cut you and make you pretty dresses. And I can't possibly match the cuteness of that, but that really does show. The thing I was kind of surprised on in a rewatch was hearing the range that Maxie has to play.
Yes.
Because while she does have a very good, subdued, 18-year-old, timid character voice, she has a lot of other things she has to play, because she has to do that. She has to get super obsessed over jellyfish and get like crazy scary when she gets into her taco mode. And then she's got to be cutesy when she's like daydreaming about jellyfish. She does that really well also. And then she has like these moments where she's in Shu's fantasies. Like Shu is imagining her in her debutante mode, and she's got like that very, but I have nowhere to move to. Whatever will I do? Kind of. Yes. So Maxie
delusional Shu. Delusional Shu.
That poor kid. That poor guy. For the longest time, I had that gif of Shu shoving Shoko out of the way with the subtitle like, "Fuck this, I'm getting out of here." Like, that was my favorite gif.
Fuck this bitch, I'm out.
Exactly. But yeah, so to echo what everyone said, Maxie does a really good job, and she really anchors this entire show. Like, the show is through her eyes. She is the point of view character. So that vulnerability that Maxie brings to it, which is kind of helped by the fact that they recorded this when Maxie was relatively young, and she actually did all of the recording for this right before leaving for grad school.
Yes.
She had to leave Florida for that, so you can imagine that she brought a lot of that young student mentality to the character. So it may be typecasting, but it worked out really well for this performance. I haven't seen Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood yet, so I don't know how she did in that, but I have seen her. I have seen her in Bakano as Cheslaw Mayer, which was a very different kind of character. But wasn't it?
That was a very different role.
Yeah. Aniplex, let Funimation put that show back on streaming again. Bring Bakano back.
Please.
# bring Bakano back.
Yes.
Anyway. Save Bakano.
And make more episodes of it. Okay, because Kuranosuke, like you said, very complex character. And I was thinking in the way that this manga was created, because Kuranosuke just kind of poof shows up out of nowhere as a hero, basically. So I have to wonder, was the mangaka's mentality trying to show Tsukimi that anyone could be a beautiful princess, even if that character isn't the kind of person who you would imagine being a princess, or in this case, someone who's born male?
I'd like to think so, honestly.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if your theory about Kuranosuke would have been out trans if this series was made in the modern era. Certainly a possibility, but I like that idea that Kuranosuke represents someone who is confident in a hobby that is not traditionally associated with their gender, is very good at it. Like, he's got women in school like fawning over him. That's just like, wow.
Well, that's
really
just because
confidence.
Kuranosuke's a pretty boy to begin with.
That helps. That helps out quite a bit. There's no denying that. Heck, I'd hit on him. But
damn,
to bring it
Noah.
But is Josh really good in this role? And the answer is yes. And I think a good portion of that was also kind of revealed in the commentaries, where I believe it was Josh. They were talking about how this show kind of revitalized their interest in anime because it was so different and so special compared to, well, they didn't flat out say it, but I have to assume that they were talking about the moe boom or the fan service boom that was going on in the late it's just like, this is very different.
I think that was what was kind of alluded to.
It was like, that's what a lot of shows were being made like. And, Princess Jellyfish is very different from that. So I like that Josh differentiates very obviously between the female and male persona. I like the funny lines that are, sometimes it's condescending to the Sisterhood. Like, they're fantasizing about, the whole Sisterhood is fantasizing, I've never lived in a hotel before. It'd be kind of nice to live in a grand hotel. Whereas Kuranosuke jumps in and's like, wise up, you 5 ain't gonna be living in the damn hotel!
Yup.
Favorite line of that episode. So yeah, there is not one sour note in the recording of this whole thing. Josh absolutely nails this from what feels like a genuine passion for the content that was being recorded. And if there's anything that was lost in the translations, like the actual Japanese to English portions of it, they cover it up really well. There's I got notes on things that were changed up here, but it doesn't matter because all that matters is that everyone here enjoyed listening to it, and that is entirely because Josh just absolutely nails this.
It is a very comfort show. I put it on every now and again, and I was watching it when I had 100-degree fever the other day, and then today, and it soothes the soul.
Yes, it sure does. It's so precious.
That's interesting.
But anyway, that leaves me. I will start with Maxie as Tsukimi. Maxie Whitehead is not normally known for voicing female characters.
Nope.
Not in the slightest, and I'm surprised that hadn't been brought up yet.
Summer Wars. I forgot about Summer Wars.
Maxie is primarily known to voice male or boy characters.
Specifically boy characters.
Mm-hmm. So, first of all, to see her come and play Tsukimi, which is one of the very rare times where she gets to play a female character, is just an absolute delight. And Tsukimi as a character is just so much fun. Maxie got to be sweet and charming, a little awkward, very nerdy. Tsukimi's nerdy moments about jellyfish are just the greatest, and props to Maxie for having to do essentially a long nerd out spiel in like almost a single breath, basically. Props to her on that. And a lot of the points that the rest of you have already brought up, I don't want to go too repetitive. Like, Tsukimi has hard-hitting moments with her trauma, too, with her mother, and her idea of what a princess is in her eyes. Like, there's a lot going there, and there's a lot of layers and complexities with Tsukimi's character, and Maxie just straight up nails it. It's one of the most fun... This show is fun in general, but Maxie as Tsukimi is just a wonderful delight. And she makes Tsukimi relatable. She makes Tsukimi relatable to other girls, especially girls who, feel the same way probably as Tsukimi does and don't see themselves as princesses because of how they looked or how they act. So seeing a character like Tsukimi and having women relate to that is just so good, and Maxine like knocks it out of the park. In terms of Josh's Kuranosuke, so I mentioned earlier when I was talking about Ian Sinclair that one of my first real times where I noticed him as an actor was with Shiki and all that fun stuff. Kuranosuke was the first time I really noticed Josh as an actor, to be completely honest. And oh my god. This is my, like, if in case you can't tell, this is my favorite performance of the entire goddamn show, because Josh just nails every little bit about Kuranosuke, from the femininity and the stylish, the slang fashionista parts of Kuranosuke, but also, as well, the aspects where Kuranosuke does present himself as male, and just being, like, nonchalant and just, like, and going to Tsukimi and taking the wig off, and, like, what is wrong with you? Why can't you just be used to me being a dude? Like, what the fuck? Like, so nonchalant, and I absolutely love it. It's very great. And it like Zen said, I think it's very appropriate that Josh ended up being the person who got to voice Kuranosuke. Granted, this is a decade before they came out as non-binary, but I think it's very appropriate that Josh got to portray a character like Kuranosuke, because Kuranosuke as a character is unique in and of themselves. And
whatever part of the gender spectrum they fall on.
Yes. Obviously, for the source material and the show we're talking about, it's male, but who knows what could happen. Like nowadays, how Kurenosuke can be perceived. But Kurenosuke is such a fun energy, and Kurenosuke brings out the best in Tsukimi. Kurenosuke brings out the best in the ladies of the Sisterhood. And Joss is just a fantastic performance, and I cannot stop gushing about it. It's one of my favorite Josh Green performances ever. 100%. Like, if there was a big reason why I wanted to do Princess Jellyfish as an episode, and especially as a classics episode, Josh has a huge hand in that. 100%. But both Maxie and Josh are just absolutely phenomenal as Tsukimi and Kurenosuke, and they just bring out such fun, comedic, but also heartfelt and deep moments, and I think it rounds out the show so well. On that,
give us season 2, Brains Base.
Or remember the Q&A, and there was someone who asked us about a series that they think should get the Fruits Basket treatment. I want to change my answer to Princess Jellyfish, god damn it.
Too late.
You know, that actually is a good answer.
Yeah, like, I originally said Yona of the Dawn, because my brain was thinking, but then when I rewatched Princess Jellyfish, I'm like, fuck. This is after I already edited the show. This is after I already edited the Q&A mostly, and I'm like, damn it, I'm not just gonna go back and change my answer as much as I fucking want to. But I would say, please give Princess Jellyfish the Fruits Basket treatment. Please.
I still say Soul Eater deserves a second shot, but that's me.
I mean, maybe.
Would a remake of Princess Jellyfish be called Princess Jellyfish Sisterhood?
Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, the second summer.
Anyways, we've been rambling on for too long. We need to finish this off. Let's move on to final thoughts. How about and I'm going to ask to try and be as brief as humanly possible with this. Let's start with Patrick. What are your final thoughts on the dub of Princess Jellyfish?
Yeah, I coming back to the show after probably about almost a decade. It's a really fun time. Coming into watching it in my early 30s, like, the sort of core message of the show of being honest with yourself and your wants and your needs, it kind of resonated. So, show itself I give a wholehearted recommendation to. The dub is spectacular, so obviously I recommend that as well. Mm-hmm. And yeah, if you happen to be able to find a physical copy, do check out those little mini shorts that they put in, because those are also absolutely hilarious.
All right. Noah, what are your final thoughts on the dub of Princess Jellyfish?
Oh, I also say you should find a physical copy, and it absolutely breaks my heart that this show was re-released on the Save label, which is usually reserved for the shows that are, like, not selling as well, and I'm like, my heart just broke for that. Yeah, because this is a very unique and special show, and these guys have already echoed all of my thoughts on the emotional core of it, and the representational portions of it as well. The thing I just really want to call out is the overwhelming challenge of taking so many Japanese references that were just peppered through the original, because again, this was intended for a Japanese audience who just get regular references, who remember sitcoms from the 80s, or reference the political party of all things, and making that acceptable to a point where anyone can watch this in dub without almost any knowledge of Japanese society or pop culture at all, and still get most of it. Either because they changed it, or they added some context to things that need to make sense. There's a freaking Indiana Jones reference in here that they just tossed in for the fun of it. That's the kind of level that we're talking about here. Go watch this, go enjoy it, go get your jellyfish on.
All right, Zen.
This show is special in so many ways. The message of being true to yourself, sticking to your guns. It doesn't matter if you're an otaku. These things are important to you, and that's what's important. But also fight for what you believe in and work and improve yourself at the same time. Very important messages. It's not disparaging otaku, and at the same time helping. It's just very good message, great representation. But I would like to see more. I think the biggest problem is that it kind of just stops. The character arcs are just, they don't go enough. And it's like, I love it to pieces, but it's not complete. And I want to read the manga, but it's not fully there. But for what this show represents to me, about representation and seeing someone in this media that is questioning their gender and is cross-dressing, and I want all those outfits, it's special to me. And I think the dub really brings that out. It is a near perfect dub. I think it's close to my top, but there are a couple things that hold it back. I do think Blood Blockade Battlefront is higher up there, simply because nothing is out of place. But overall, this is fantastic dub, fantastic show. Go check it out. It should be in your collection. I am jelly that I do not have it in mine.
You need to fix that.
I do.
You didn't catch the pun there? But... You were jelly that it's not in your collection?
I was peanut butter and jealous.
Oh, God, I like that now. Shit. Peanut butter and jealous. I like that. Shit. I have to steal that now. Anyway, so, again, I really wanted to talk about Princess Jellyfish. I really love Princess Jellyfish. It's one of those... To kind of repeat a little bit of what everybody else has said, it's one of those shows that not only is a fun comedic time, but it also tells you about being true to yourself and how to love yourself for who you are, and that you can be the princess you always wanted to be. And it's such... It's so relatable, and it can hit home in so many ways, and it's just a fantastic show in and of itself. I am also sad that it just abruptly ends. Hey, let's give it the fruits basket treatment. Like, please. The manga ended a long ass time ago. Let's give it the fruits basket treatment.
Did it?
Yeah, it did, actually.
Oh, did not know that.
It did. It ended...
2017.
Yeah, it ended in 2017. You're right. But in terms...
Holy crap, 2017 was 4 years ago now.
Oh, yeah, you're telling me. But anyway, in terms of the dub is just... The dub, I think, takes the material and I'd say almost elevates it to me. And... it makes it very accessible to an English-speaking audience. And that was the whole point behind the dub, is to make it accessible for an English-speaking audience. And to show, especially as otakus ourselves, that otaku doesn't have to be, like, boxed in with anime and manga. You can be a train otaku, you can be a Three Kingdoms otaku, you can be a video game otaku, you can be an Excel spreadsheet otaku, since that got thrown in earlier. You can be an obsessive nerd about anything. And being an otaku is not a bad thing. It's not. And the dub, I think, portrays that very, very well. It does very well with some of the, I'd say some of the more sensitive topics and materials that is in the show. Like Kuranosuke in general, like some of the shit that Shu has to go through, like Tsukimi's trauma with her mother passing. It's just such a fun... The dub just is phenomenal. If you haven't seen Princess Jellyfish already, please go do so. The only thing that could potentially hold it back, and I think, and I said this earlier, is younger, newer generation of anime fans. There might be some references or some things in there that you either may not understand or you might get put off by, because 10 years ago, because 2011, 2012 is very different time compared to 2021. And people grow, people change, people learn about new things. So there are things that may not sit well to you, or so that's the only possible drawback with this show. But please, please, please go see it. It is fantastic. It is, I highly think of it as a classic show, honestly. And I really do wish that someday we get more Princess Jellyfish. In the meantime, though, if you are interested in watching Princess Jellyfish, you can watch it either on Funimation with their streaming service, or I did find it was also on Amazon Prime Video. You can watch it on either spot. But because we've said it before, backtrack a minute. The show is also available on DVD only through the Save Edition label, unless you are like Patrick and stupid fucking lucky and managed to get the LE set that is severely out of print.
Yeah, I just looked it up on eBay. They're like $200 a pop.
Dang.
Yeah. To which I tweeted this the other day. Dear Funimation, please re-release Princess Jellyfish. I will buy that shit. Thank you very much. But anyways, if you want to know about the complete story of Princess Jellyfish, because again, 11 episodes only covers 4, maybe 5 volumes of the manga. The manga is available. All of it has been released. It is released thanks to Kodansha. It is released in omnibus volumes. So each omnibus volume has 2 individual volumes in it. And yeah, you can go check it out that way.
There's also a box set, by the way, with
there is a full box set
with all the volumes included.
Yes, there is a full box set. And I need to keep collecting more of the manga. I only have 2 omnibus volumes so far. If you are interested in anything that we here at Dub Talk do, the easiest way to do it, if you are currently watching us on YouTube, or if you are listening to us either on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Podbean, easiest way to do that is to follow or subscribe to us. We put out episodes every week, sometimes twice a week, depending on how much we have on the back burner. But you can follow or subscribe to us, and yeah, that'd be kind of cool, be fun. You can also follow us on Twitter. Instagram is kind of dead. Twitch, Tumblr is also dead. All of that at Dub Talk Podcast. And if you want to contribute a little bit more and support us even more, we do have a Ko-fi account if you want to give us like a small one-time donation, or we also have our Patreon account where you can be one of our patrons and get fun little exclusive early looks, little clips. We like to chat with you. We're also slowly working on trying to expand the Patreon a little bit more in terms of what else we want to offer for rewards and things like that. And speaking of, we of course have to shout out our patrons. We have our $5 tier, Megan's mom and dad, Michelle Travelis, Miraculous Corazon, Nika Robin, but with Yowie hands, Sue Tweet, and Victor Mayborda. And for our $10 tier, we have Carly Lesticow, Crimson Echidna, Jacob Wilson, J2 aka Jared, Julia W, Marissa Lenti, and Otaku Anthony. You are all wonderful human beings. We love you. Thank you very much. For anything that the 4 of us idiots do, I'm going to try and be as accurate as humanly possible, and you can correct me if I am wrong. If you want to catch anything that I do, my name is Stephanie. I am also known sometimes as Lilac. You can follow me on Twitter at Lilac Anime Review, with review being spelled R-E-V-U-E. I also have a blog, lifeandtimesoftaku.wordpress.com, that I sometimes update if you want to go check out stuff there. If you want to see anything that Patrick does, you can follow him on Twitter at Roots of Justice. He also has a blog or something.
Yeah, it's kind of work in progress.
Work in progress.
The entire time I've been on this podcast.
For the past 5 years. Someday.
And I've got some other projects sort of on a slow simmer, so
Gotcha.
keep an eye out.
Someday. If you want to follow anything that Zen does, you can follow her on Twitter, and correct me if I am wrong, at Zenith Bun Squad?
Zenith_Bun Squad.
Okay, got it. Or, I don't even know if you changed your YouTube channel. I don't know if you did.
It's going to be changed to the Bun Squad. Right now, it's Zenith Warrior Princess.
Yes.
We're in the process of revamping things, but the main channel, if you search for the Bun Squad, it's all bunnies all the time. You can join the Legion of Bunnies.
Where she does a variety of content, whether it's history of One Piece, whether it's streaming games, whether she does a lot of stuff with like Marvel and things like that. You can go check her out there. As for Noah, you can follow him on Twitter at Noah Clue, or you can check him out on YouTube at Journey Traveler, where he will post different kinds of videos about various points of animation.
Cartoons are love. Cartoons are life. And you should, every one of you out there, expose yourself to more animation than what you've just been watching right now. Go watch the Irish movie Wolfwalkers. It should have totally won the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. It was way better than Soul.
All right. Sit down.
And
I'm already
finally,
sitting down.
If you like Noah, he shows up in the Dark Crystal review that I did, and that's enough for Jim Henson.
Oh, Jesus. And
you haven't even gotten to Sam and Friends yet.
Anyways, we're trying to finish this up. Shut up. So, on that note, it is time to go to bed. Patrick has to wake up to work in the morning.
Oh boy, do I.
Oh boy, do you. I'm sorry. But to close it out, I want to quote the mangaka of Princess Jellyfish, because in the manga, she has, before the start of each volume, she has these little notes to the readers. And I wanted to read this one that I found in the second omnibus volume. This one is particularly for the start of volume 3 itself. And I think it's very appropriate. So, dear readers, I guess girls really do aspire to be princesses, no matter their age, huh? But it's so hard to find the right occasion to don a dress. Nowadays, you can buy cosplay-type dresses for pretty cheap online. Dearest readers, just like Kuranosuke, go ahead and do whatever you really want to do. From Akiko Higarashimura. So, on that note, we love you. Do be yourself. We love you for who you are. Don that dress. Wear those heels. So, on that note...
Rock it, damn it.
Hell yeah. Happy Pride Month, ladies, gents, and our non-binary friends. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and until next time, otaku on, my friends.
Otaku on that dubba.
Aloha. Be gay.
Bye, everyone.
Do crimes.
Be gay, do crimes.
Be gay, do lots of crimes.
That's a fitting way to end a show about politicians.
Ah, yes. God damn it. Good night,
wrong.
everybody.
Not wrong.
Take it easy, guys.
I love